Welcome to Keep Going, a podcast about failure and success, hosted by John Biggs. Every week, we talk to an amazing person about a time they failed and what they learned. And remember, when you're going through hell, keep going.
Welcome back to Keep Going, a podcast about success and failure. I'm John Biggs. Today on the show, we have Konstantin Kogan. He's the GP at Holistic Capital. And you also have a really cool podcast, which I'm going to be on eventually. So I get to actually meet your audience. But we met just a week ago, and you have a really, really cool story. So tell us what you're up to, Konstantin.
Hi, John. First of all, honored to be here. Yes, we met in Salt Lake City, out of all the places, ironically, live in close by in New York. I don't know where to begin. The story, I guess, maybe just a little bit of background. I'm originally from Ukraine. I was born and raised there, 11 years in the United States. I started my career as a commodities and future trader. Chicago Board of Trade was my first venue where I started to explore financial markets. From there, went through rabbit hole, and bought my first 5 Bitcoin in 2012. 2016, made a conscious choice to go all in when Ethereum got out, and I thought that programmable money is definitely going to be the future of tokenization of all the assets. 17, become a partner in the first crypto fund of hedge funds in the world. We're the first SEC registered firm. From there, a wild journey, co-founding 3 companies, investing in 80 plus venture startups, and running my own hedge fund, working for hedge funds, and now focusing on Holistic Capital, which is basically a multi-asset, multi-strategy investment firm, mostly focused on digital assets, but eventually we'll work with different assets on blockchain as well, which I think that's where the future is going to. And also, as you mentioned, I also run Holistic Investments, which is the podcast, which I started during COVID time. My first guest was Dan Moorhead from Pantera Capital, because we invested in Pantera, so we had good relationships with them. Since then, had 100 plus guests on my show, and enjoy learning from incredible individuals.
And you got like 600 plus thousand followers across all your platforms.
Yes.
What do you think led to that level of success, and what does that give you as a VC? Like, I know what this gives me as just a putz on the internet, but what does that give you as a VC?
Well, to be completely transparent, I don't consider myself as a VC anymore like I used to be. Right now, we're trading mostly liquid assets, right? So you can think about it as an algorithmic trading firm, high frequency trading, right? Closer than. So I used to be a VC, and I thought that was incredible opportunity in emerging markets, right? But regardless, what it gives me network. I think social capital is another form of capital, right? Not necessarily like people who invest in you is your, main business partners in life. Some people like stay with you regardless of either you succeed or you fail. And I think the more value you bring to other individuals, look what we're doing today, right? You're the first who allowed me to be on your podcast, which I'm very grateful for. And then you're going to be on mine. And that's hopefully going to inspire others to do the same and share thoughts, learn from each other. I would say intellectual capital and social capital, that's what's the primary goal for me, and that's how I'm giving back to the world, by educating the future generations.
Mm-hmm. So tell us about the growth of this media empire, I guess you could say. So you started out just deciding to do this. What was the impetus? Why'd you want to do it?
Well, media empire, it's a big word. I love how you frame it. Future media empire. Yes.
Yeah, we got to talk each other up. Yeah.
Yes, I appreciate it. Look, wholeheartedly, I was in a very tough spot during COVID. I think it was a very challenging time for everyone, and I thought to myself, what can I do? I mean, we're sitting at home. There's not much to do. Everything is digital anyway. You cannot go out. And I started to ask myself, it was more of a soul searching exercise. Like, what can I do to at least do something what I love, to have a cohesive discussion, and also somehow impact others, to inspire them or to help them in some way. And that podcast format was the most relevant for me. I've listened to a lot. I'm a big fan of, like Joe Rogan, Alex Hormozi, and Alex Friedman, and many other great, people who went bold and started to invite other individuals, have long discussions with them. So my format is about 60 minutes, right? So it's enough time to learn about a person, about their journey, about where they're coming from, and also how they achieve this success, and also ask them like uncomfortable questions, which allows to bring less controversy, but more about like, what were the failures? What are the learning lessons? Something that you would not talk on your board meeting or in a, somewhere in a traditional media, right? So more like honest, friendly conversations you will have, when you're drinking wine with your friend in the kitchen.
So tell me about some of those failures. I think right now we're looking at a crypto winter. So that sounds like you might have some issues right now, but tell me about the failures as you move through and try to enter this space.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, we're doing great. I mean, we like when you're trading with a market neutral strategy, you're not like long like any asset. Like we're making money even shorting right now. So for us, the volatility and big spikes is where we make most of our money, and that's the exciting part. Like, and that's when I finally understood after 3 cycles in the industry that how to navigate the markets. So that's number one. The failures, mostly ironically, I wouldn't call them financial decisions. It's mostly who you're going with. So I would say how to pick your partners. Like, and I think that's one of the most challenging parts, because if you think about a business as a form of marriage, so to speak, like a very big connection, you spend with your business partners a lot of time. You're building something. It's your venture is like your baby, right? And when there is, I would say, not clear understanding of what is the vision, how do you work together, like, what's going to happen next, like when the actual challenges come into play, that's when you learn the character of a person. That's how you learn how they react. That's how you learn if they're going to be supportive or they're going to put you down or maybe even like publicly humiliate you. Like there's a lot of things that are completely unknown. Besides the business challenges, we're also talking about like basic human to human relationship. And I would say that the biggest learning experience for me as a failure is how to choose the right partners and how to make sure that these people not only share your vision, but also there will be for you when it's going to be the hardest, when nobody will like want to support you, when the market is against you. Right? And in these moments, it's incredibly important to have a person who is basically your person, that you consciously decided that no matter what, you go till the end and you make it a success.
I mean, give me an example of someone who didn't fulfill that for you?
Well, I don't wanna put names, right? But I would say,
sure.
I should say, if you read statistics in traditional VC companies that are well funded, let's imagine even they found product market fit and everything. One of the third aspect why companies fail is because of the pure misunderstanding and quarrels between the teams, right, and the founding team. So it's an ego issue, right? There are people who are money driven. There are people who are purpose driven. When you're purpose driven, like you're always trying to find ways how to mitigate, certain conflicts, how to find a way to harmonize your relationship, even though you might disagree on very particular topics, right? Very tactical, pragmatic business decisions, but still respect another like person who might disagree with you, right? And then you find out that some people, besides that can be brilliant, analytical, very active in business, they might not have, let's say, what we call in a common sense like high emotional intelligence, right? And that equals to bigger misunderstanding, right? When you again, marriage is probably one of the most relevant examples. When two people, let's say they're not on the same page, it creates an environment where you might be successful in other aspects of life, but when you come back home, let's say, and you're not feeling that it's the most supporting environment, then everything else becomes challenging. It becomes, I wouldn't call it obsolete, but I would say it becomes irrelevant. That's I would say the most important examples. Whenever you're picking people who you want to go with, and by the way, that's also relevant for the partnerships, right? People who will be, let's say, your investors or people who will be your customers, or one of the biggest one. That's one of the most important aspects. Are you on the same page? Do you have the same values? Is it are you going to be able to work long term together?
Okay. Yeah, fascinating. So what do you do to test people before you trust them?
You know, it might sound funny, but I don't think there's a way to test it. I really don't. Like, I think it's somehow it's a gut feeling, like it's when you pick a partner, you see immediately, like whether there's going to be potential conflict and whether you're going to be able to navigate this conflict so that you come out the same as you started your relationship. And yeah, sometimes it's more about like the examples of life, the practical issues that help you. Like, for example, my current business partner, we know each other for 17 years. So we've been through a lot of hardships. We know how would each one of us react, right? And sometimes a person from an industry or somebody referred this person to you and you meet for the first time, you think, oh, wow, it's a great idea. We can make a lot of money together. But eventually, when like a serious conflict situation arrives, maybe small things you can dodge or you can, raise above those issues. But then the big one destroys everything, right? And it's impossible to know in advance. That's the irony of life. So you have to just have, some people do psychometric analysis, like astrological analysis, right? I don't believe it works. It's just a matter that you agree from the get-go. What are you going to do? Not if, but when the issue is going to arrive.
Okay. Very interesting. How do you make decisions on what to invest in, what to buy, that sort of thing? Like, let's say we're talking to a entrepreneur right now. What would you be looking at when you meet them?
Well, as I mentioned, right now we're mostly focusing on liquid
market,
right?
But like before or just in general, because we're fairly.
Or as a startup, I look at the people a lot. Before, I looked at technology and the scalability, whether it can be 10x, 100x idea, like whether it's a good timing, whether the market is ready, when they have a product market fit and they have some traction, whether they have some revenue or some good, I don't know, downloads or any like monthly average users, like daily average users, that's active users, right? So, but nowadays, I actually look at the people mostly. Like after investing in 80 projects and realizing that most of the startups are just statistically like they will fail. Like, so the only question now remains in my head is like whether this is the right team to execute the vision. The idea can be incredible. The vision can be also right on time, like on point. You have like backing, of the top VCs or like angel investors. But then you look at the people and you think, okay, well, are they in a good place, like in their life? Do they have enough experience? Are they motivated enough? Because motivation of founders can be also very different. One founder can have, I don't know, 2 previous exits, and for him, it's like more of a like he really wants to change the world. While it can be his first startup, and he's gonna grind to make it happen no matter what, just because like he wants to, prove himself. Right? And there's other scenarios where people already just do it for reasons because they need to do it because there was a merger or because like somebody told them that's going to be a great opportunity. So that's the most important, I think, right now. You look at the people, you have multiple meetings, and you try to analyze whether they're going to be the right fit for this particular idea to execute it.
And for folks in your boat, should they start a podcast, or would you recommend it, or is it a pain?
Starting a podcast is, first of all, you have to think about it starting a business. Better than anyone else, it's a very challenging endeavor. It requires a lot of time. Not always it will pay out immediately. For 5 years, I haven't been able to monetize it. I was just doing it for my own passion, right? Because I truly believe that learning from other great minds was something that I want to do. And if at least like a few hundred people will be inspired by that, that was my motivation. But then you realize, okay, well, like you spend your own time, you spend resources, right? We're spending right now, you allocate half an hour of your valuable time in life, right? Then you're going to spend time in editing, right? Then you're going to spend time on distribution. And then you ask yourself, is this going to be monetizable? Because you spend all these resources and you hope at some point it will be. And if you don't have a clear answer when and how it's going to happen, then the question is like, how long you're going to last? Statistically, most of the podcasters who go into this journey, they don't last more than 30 episodes. So if you're over 30 episodes and let's say you're getting to 50 to 100, that means you're a survivor. The question is how big you want to go. That's all.
Yeah. I mean, I think I've got 260 or something like that. So I feel like I'm a survivor, but I'm in the same boat where it's in terms of monetization, it's kind of silly. So where can people find what you're working on?
Holistic Investments, you can Google my name, Konstantin Kogan, and Holistic Investments. I an Apple Podcast, Spotify. I have 7 other platforms. There's also a YouTube version of it, right? And I put Twitter, Telegram, Instagram, the short version of it. YouTube, obviously, the full side that I'm doing right now in the studio in New York. So if any of your listeners think that you're a great potential guest or you want to refer someone, feel free to go to my website, konstantinkogan.com, and there's a form you can submit someone, and my team would be happy to review it and come back to you. And yeah, it's mostly relationship based nowadays. Like, for example, yesterday I met co-founder of Venmo. Honestly, was not planning to do that, right? And then I was very inspired. He's building a new project, and I was so excited about his vision that I want to support him. So I invited him immediately. The first moment we met. There are others who takes time. It's a publicly traded company, so it takes me 3 months to book them, right? So I'm very open-minded to talk to anyone, hear constructive feedback about the format, about the questions, sound, light.
All right, very cool. Konstantin, thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much.
All right, this has been Keep Going. I'm John Biggs. We'll see you next episode.
Thank you for listening to Keep Going, a podcast about success and failure. Remember, Keep Going is entirely listener supported. If you're listening to this, please head over to keepgoingpod.com, where you can subscribe to the podcast for as little as $5 a month. This is a labor of love, and every little bit helps. Thanks for listening.